The NBA Rules Committee met over the offseason and decided to clean up a few actions that players have been taking advantage of in recent years. However, do these changes make sense? Will they solve the issues that both referees and, most importantly, fans have with the game? The first thing they looked at was something that without question needed to be addressed for a long time, when a shooter launches himself into the defender in a clear non-basketball move. I cannot tell you how often this type of play would enrage the audience, as the shooter earned 3 free throws over and over, and now it appears they're going to improve the game by calling an offensive foul. One reason this became such a common play was because stats showed that the best way to lower a shooter's three-point percentage was to challenge the shot in the air. So NBA defenders were taught to leave their feet on closeouts and make it tough on the shooter. But once the shooter started hurtling themselves at strange angles and creating more than marginal contact, something needed to be done. Personally, I'm glad they finally decided to do something about it, and wouldn't you know it, Steph Curry of all people gets initiated into the preseason by not getting his call. Despite his protests, sorry Steph, but you're lucky this wasn't called 1, a travel, and 2, a foul on you. Next up is the leg kick out, and this one, sports fans, is a bit controversial in my eyes because it deals with the proper leg positioning on certain types of shots. When a right-handed player is going to his right and pulling up, there is a lot of rotation necessary to achieve the proper alignment. And in order to control that in-air rotation, the right leg lifting is an important part of the fundamentals. In the example the NBA referees decided to show, we see the beginning of that right leg controlling Booker's turn. But I admit it didn't need to come up that high, and as a result, this should and will be called an offensive foul. Watch Jason Tatum on these 2 shots and you'll see what a normal right leg raise looks like in order to control the in-air turn that has to happen when turning over your left shoulder. It doesn't have to be moving to the right off the dribble. It could also be a turnaround fadeaway. That leg raise is vital, or else you run the risk of turning too far and losing proper alignment. Of course, this example needs to be eliminated since kicking your leg out to the side is dangerous for both players and isn't the kind of normal leg motion of a jump shot. That said, their third example is a good case study. When a defender lands in the landing space of the shooter, it's an automatic defensive foul even if there isn't a ton of contact. We've seen how dangerous this type of play can be, whether unintentional or not, so the league needs to enforce this. But listen to what the voiceover says in terms of the shooter's movement.
While Walker did drift forward on his shot slightly, his shooting motion is normal and habitual.
Watch this again, and you'll see the player does not, in fact, drift forward at all. What does happen is that he correctly hinges at the waist and allows his feet to sway forward, a key component to a relaxed shot that just about every good shooter does naturally. This movement, much like the right leg raising when going to the right, is an important fundamental to shooting the ball consistently, and I'm still not sure the referees understand this fact. If you're wondering how I got good at explaining plays like these, the best lesson I learned was how to take complex information and condense it into smaller, more easily digestible bites. And that's exactly what Blinkist does by taking top nonfiction titles and puts them into 15-minute text and audio explainers called Blinks. With how quickly these plays happen, refs don't have any time to waste while making a split-second decision. And with Blinkist, you can absorb so much more information with over thousands of titles in 27 categories. Plus, they've teamed up with popular podcast creators to blink those for you too, so you can get to the heart of a podcast episode fast. The first 100 people to go to Blinkist.com/BBALLBREAKDOwn will get unlimited access for 1 week to try it out. You'll also get 25% off if you want the full membership. I'm listening to When the Game Was Ours about Magic and Bird going at each other. So check out Blinkist, and you'll be saving time just like the best referees save effort and energy by being in the right spot to get the best angle on these plays. The next type of play is the Trae Young foul, where he gets the defender in jail and then abruptly pulls up for a shot. You have to understand that even marginal contact to a guy jumping into the air can gravely affect the outcome. But the howls of outrage on Twitter every time Trae Young would do this could be heard across the social medias. What Trae Young doesn't do is jump sideways into a trailing defender. This, without question, is an offensive foul, since the defender must be allowed his own space and not be penalized for contact that is completely initiated by the offensive player. Imagine Curry was by himself and tried to make this shot by jumping laterally like this. It would be an almost impossible and unnatural shot, so I'm glad they're emphasizing this one. I remember being called for this in high school when I was practically decked by the offensive player, purposely flinging himself laterally into me. It was outrageous then, and it's outrageous now. But understand that this isn't what Trae Young is doing. You can see he keeps his head up to scan for the defender, knowing that defender has got to get back in position as quickly as possible. He then waits to make sure there is contact before getting up into the shot. There is simply no way to avoid calling this a shooting foul, and it's on the defender to avoid him since he's not veering off his path to initiate contact. It's time to accept this as an important move by Young, and one that defenders will simply have to improve on. That said, the final type of play the refs want to emphasize is the off-arm initiation of contact. In the past, when the ball hasn't been gathered yet, this would be a no call or no free throws awarded. But instead, they want to stop players from doing this in the first place. So this year, they're going to call this an offensive foul. This concept was originated several seasons ago by James Harden, who felt that even though his shooting arm was the off arm, if the defender was contacting it while he began the motion into the shot, the refs would have no choice but to give him free throws. This new interpretation of the rules has finally put an end to that loophole, and any player trying this would be foolish to risk the offensive foul. That said, they want to have a gray area where if the contact was marginal, it's simply a no call like in years past. I'm dubious that the referees will be able to accurately discern between the first play and the second. So be prepared for confusion by the players on this one until either the refs figure it out or the players just stop trying to do this one feeling it's not worth it anymore. With the league in an unprecedented era of skill with both ball handling and shot making, it's time for the players to rely on them instead of bending the rules to bail them out of uncomfortable situations they might find themselves in. The defense needs some sort of protection against these types of calls, and I'm glad to see the refs are taking steps to clean it up and ultimately make the game more watchable.